Let's give example 4 a try. We are doing the exact same process, but the good news is we don't have to do the IOC this time. That'll make it a little bit shorter. If you'll notice, this is pretty close to the formula 1 divide, a sub 1 over 1 minus r. So the question is, how can I make it exactly that? Well, the top is good, the 1 is good, so just like last time, I'm just missing that minus sign. So I'm just going to take this plus sign apart and make it into 2 negative signs. So whether it's a plus sign or 2 minus signs, it's the same thing, but I need the 2 minus signs. Given the rewrite, my a sub 1 will be x to the third power, and my r will be negative 2x. Once I have the a and the r, I can plug them into my summation formula, and that is my power series. This particular question is asking me for the first 4 non-zero terms and the general term. The first 4 non-zero terms, I think both of these are easier if you have the general term to begin with. The general term requires a bit of algebra. I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to begin with x to the third, negative 2x to the n. I'm going to begin by distributing the n. I have to distribute it to the negative 1, I have to distribute it to the 2, and I have to distribute it to the x. There are technically 3 things in that parenthesis. The negative and the 2 have to be separated from each other. So that now becomes 3 parentheses. Which ones can I combine? Well, I always pull the alternating term out front so that I can ignore it. This one has a base of 2, and none of the other ones have a base of 2. So I'm going to pull that out as well. These 2 right here both have a base of x, which means my exponent rules allow me to add the exponents together. Keep the base of x, add the 2 exponents together. That is going to be what's called our general term. I think it's easier to plug the numbers into this than it is into this, but it really doesn't matter. They're the same thing. So if I plug in 0 to here, anything to the 0 powers 1, anything to the 0 powers 1, 0 plus 3 would be 3. So this ends up being x to the third power. So the first term would be x to the third power. Now I'm going to plug a 1 in. That's going to make it negative, so I'm going to put a negative sign there. Plugging in a 1 here gives me a 2. And plugging in a 1 here gets me x to the fourth. Moving on to the next, I'll be plugging in 2. If I plug in 2 here, that makes it positive. If I plug in 2 here, that gets me 4. If I plug in 2 here, that gets me x to the fifth. Now I need to plug in 3. If I plug in 3, that's a negative sign. If I plug in 3, that becomes 8. If I plug in 3, that becomes to the 6th power. Again, they were also asking you to list the general term. So plus, dot, 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 plus, and then we're going to fill that in as the general term. And we have completed everything they asked.